In this era of grave spiritual crisis, it is not enough to simply know about your Catholic faith. That is why we need a Catholic toolbox to equip us with the practical skills necessary to live our Catholic faith to reach our ultimate goal, which is heaven for all eternity. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. for the Catholic Toolbox as we hand you the tools to go forth, live the faith, and change our modern world today. Live on the Voice of Charity.
And welcome back to another week on the Catholic Toolbox, the Art of Practical Catholicism. I'm your host and founder, George Manassa, here as we equip you with practical tools to live your faith in our modern world of today. And this week, we're talking about pro-life initiatives and pro-life itself. Welcome, Paul Hanrahan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. And when I thought about pro-life initiatives, you came to mind. And I really thought, it'd be a great conversation to have.
Great.
Yeah,
Happy
because
to.
you're passionate about what you do, and
Yes.
that's what I like. People that are passionate about what they do, and they take initiative, and they love what they do. And
Definitely.
yeah.
Yep.
So you are the director of Family Life International.
Executive director.
Yeah.
There are actually 4 directors.
4 directors, yeah.
But I have the executive role, so I run the main day-to-day activities of the organisation as
Yeah.
well. So, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. What is Family Life International?
Family Life International is a pro-life, pro-family organisation. Our constitution actually compels us to the defence and promotion of life, faith and family. Right?
Yeah.
So we're an organisation that's overtly Catholic in its outlook, so we adhere to all the doctrines of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And we believe that in the public sphere, without God, we can't overcome the evil of abortion.
Yeah.
Abortion's a satanic thing, and we need to be reminded constantly that what our Lord said, without me you can do nothing. So
Amen. Yeah.
So
Amen. Really.
that's the heart of the apostolate, if you like.
Exactly. So it's a lay apostolate.
It's a lay apostolate.
Yeah.
So it's not run by the church in
Yeah.
any way. We're not even supported financially by the church in any way.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me questions like that, but that's the situation. We're an organisation depends completely on donations.
Wow. And why are pro-life initiatives? I don't think I've actually, even on this show, discussed pro-life initiatives. Why do we have to fight for life?
It's crazy, isn't it?
For those who are listening that probably have never heard of any pro-life initiatives or never got their head around why, the people do what they do. Why do people march in the United States and around Australia for pro-life initiatives? What's the big deal?
The big deal is this, that we pretty well live in a post-Christian society.
Yeah.
And there's a new paganism that's taken root.
Yeah.
And established itself. And there's a whole lot of things that go with that. But you look at any pagan culture in the past.
Yeah.
Human sacrifice was part of the deal. The Bible talks about the nations around Israel who would make their children pass through fire. That is, they would sacrifice them. So in the days of the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
the husband, the father, had all the power.
Yeah.
The children,
Toxic masculinity.
well, then it was. That's probably right then. That's when they should apply it. When you go back and you look at that, so St. James, the apostle, said in his epistle, true religion is this, to support the widows and orphans.
Yeah.
Right? If that's true religion, then that's what we do. If the widows and orphans of the Roman time who, if the father threw the wife out and the kids out and didn't want them, they were literally at serious risk of at least being sold into slavery or of death, right? A kid that was not wanted by the father would usually be put to death. the baby, if it had any disability, would be left outside the city walls to die of exposure or drowned in water or something like that.
Wow.
So it was not so much abortion as infanticide.
Yeah.
But because they didn't have the tools, although they did have abortifacient drugs, but they had some risk for the woman.
Wow.
More risk than they have now.
Yeah.
Those sort of drugs. But so the modern equivalent of those women St. James talks about have to be the women getting coerced into abortion mills for their children to be killed.
Yep.
And I've literally spoken to 7,000 to 8,000 women outside an abortion mill. 7,000 to 8,000 over close to 30 years, 27 years or whatever it is, that I was able to pray outside an abortion clinic.
Yep.
The number of hours, that was not the people that would just brush me and tell me to rack off or go away.
Yeah.
The ones that stopped and talked, I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can tell you this, all of those women that spoke to me said, I have no choice. I thought it was all about choice.
Yeah.
The other side, the rhetoric from the people that lobby for abortion is that it's a woman's choice. Yet thousands of women going into abortion mills tell me they've got no choice. That's not a choice. And that if they had
That's an interesting point.
Well, if they had someone that can support them,
that's a choice.
They wouldn't be here.
I mean, it's interesting. They say pro-choice, but really, it's common sense. We have a choice to do whatever we want, but you want options, choice and options. So you're giving them that
We gave them
option
options. Yes, right.
to say, hey, no, abortion isn't just the default way to do things. There's another option here.
Yep.
A viable option.
So of those 7,000 to 8,000, we had
amazing
about
work.
10% of them change their mind.
Wow. So that's some of the work you've done over the, 10 years?
I still get messages and photos from people of their children growing up.
That must be some satisfying work.
Absolutely. The first
must be some
turnarounds
really great
I know
work.
about would be in their 20s, well and truly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe having kids of their own. So, it's a tough gig being outside an abortion clinic, let me tell you, in a lot of ways, but it's also very rewarding. I think as much as I've learnt from great talks, great programs, books, lectures, I learnt as much, if not more, on the street.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Well, I used to say to people, now I know why our Lord spent the whole public ministry on the street.
In the streets, that's where the real work gets done.
Absolutely right.
Not in the bureaucracy of things.
No.
I think bureaucracy...
No. And it wasn't just people going into the place.
Yeah.
It was people that worked there and the people that lived or worked in the area going past us. And I know of people who used to go past and sing out abuse at us.
Yeah.
Who have changed completely and agree with our view.
Wow. So every day going to work, they
Just
meet you or
gradually,
they see you?
gradually talking to me or someone in our group.
Yep.
I had a lot to do with those because I was often the spokesperson. It wasn't always someone else to counsel with me. So the other people that support us would come and pray. They'd be there in prayer. Without prayer, you're finished, right? So we'd pray the whole time.
Yeah.
So I'd be praying rosaries if I wasn't speaking to somebody.
Wow. It's absolutely profound. Just the work that you're doing there and the results that you can see out of that. I mean, a 20-year-old who's here because of the initiatives that you were running. You could actually say if you hadn't made this move 10 years ago, how many people wouldn't be here?
No, it was 1994 I got involved.
1994.
So it's actually 30 years.
So 30 years.
I've been involved in the pro-life movement 30 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep. So it was over a long time.
Why do we fight for life, Paul? Is it worth it?
Well, our Lord died for life.
Yeah.
He died that we may have life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why we fight for it. And because a pagan culture turns to death. That's why most of the moral battles we have involve the death of someone. The death of the unborn in abortion, the death of the infirm and the elderly with euthanasia, the death of the very newly conceived with contraception.
I mean, it's profound. If you think about the beginning of life, you have birth is under attack, the end of life is under attack, and during life...
Not just birth, conception.
Conception.
That's called contraception.
Contraception. Because
most people don't know that most contraceptives, except the barrier methods like condoms, have an abortifacient mechanism. So there's several mechanisms that can prevent a newborn baby. If those things don't work, then it stops implantation.
Yeah, exactly.
So a newly conceived embryo can't implant.
Yeah, exactly.
That's called an abortifacient.
Wow. Yeah.
And in the last 50 years, since so-called legal abortion around the Western world especially, a lot of the third world countries still reject it, right? But Western imperialism is doing their best to impose it on those countries tied to aid.
Yeah.
But in the Western world...
Aren't they imposing white supremacy?
Absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing.
I watched something online.
White inferiority, I'd call it in that case. But,
but I was just watching a video of a university student in the square. I think it was Harvard or some other university. And she was screaming at a man of African background. And she said, white colonials impose their religion on you. He said, actually, I'm Ethiopian Orthodox. Christianity was there before it reached Rome.
That's good,
So,
isn't it?
and it's funny, and the concern of the liberal-minded people over imposing Western values on people, racial minorities. I mean, talk about that. We're imposing, and now that's being done. So, I mean, it's interesting. It really is. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, but that's why we fight for life.
Because as Mother Teresa said...
by the way, John Paul II, on your
Yeah.
Fight for Life thing, at World Youth Day, one of the very first World Youth Days, I think Denver,
Yeah, Denver.
he actually said to the gathered hundreds of thousands of young people,
Yeah.
woe, and remember he's a very well-educated man, very well-educated man. And he understands the biblical implication of using the word woe, what that means. Woe to you if you are not successful in defending life. He didn't say if you don't try, right, to defend life.
Yeah.
Give it your best shot. Woe to you if you are not successful in defending life. And the modern culture moved on from Denver now 30 plus years, is been going steadily downhill with an accelerating pace. We need to defend life because we need to re-evangelize, especially the Western world.
Yeah.
And that's the without the defense of life. You see, many of the ancient Christians in early Roman Empire, the first 2 centuries, they were the best citizens that they had. The Roman procurators and governors didn't want to put them to death for refusing to burn incense to Caesar.
Yeah, that's right.
They were their best citizens. You know why? Because they were picking up the widows and orphans off the street and helping them. They were doing practical things. These weren't people who had radio and video shows and had textbooks and university qualifications.
Or TikTok or the means available to them.
They just believed with all their heart, mind and soul in Jesus Christ that he came to save us. And that unless we love God with all our heart, mind and soul and our neighbour as ourselves for his sake, we've had it.
Yeah.
They knew that. Well, that's why we fight for life.
I mean, as Mother Teresa said, I think it was in a gathering of politicians, many politicians and heads of state. She said, how can we tell people, or was that at the United Nations? I'm not sure. How can we tell people to not kill each other if we then don't, if we say it's okay to kill someone in the womb?
She gave an address at the United Nations in New York.
Yeah.
In front of 2,000 people, and including then President Bill Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
And his wife,
Yes.
Hillary. And she got a standing ovation, and she decried the evil of abortion, how it's taken root in the Western world. And of course, he's one of the most pro-abortion minded presidents ever in the United States. It's only got worse. But
including
ever.
Joe Biden.
Well, up till the time of Clinton's, when we're talking about the 90s. And she got a standing ovation. They just had to sit there and take it and eat humble pie. It didn't seem to change them, of course.
But it makes sense. How can you tell people don't kill each other in war?
Doesn't make any sense.
If you don't value life at its conception.
Yep.
It really, if we don't value life, then the physical life, then everything is up for grabs.
Correct.
Really, it devalues everything else. Why tell people believe in Jesus Christ? Why tell people have reverence for life, have reverence for sexuality, treat your neighbor as you would yourself? Everything goes out the window.
Whatever
really.
you do to the least of these, my brothers, you
Yeah.
do unto me. That's why we fight for life.
Whether it's at conception or whether it's at the end of life, if you can't value life itself, then everything within the scope of life doesn't make sense.
No.
Anymore. Why worship
But
God?
George, that's why
Yeah.
we now have euthanasia laws.
Okay. So it was a matter of progression, abortion's fine, then you open
If it's okay
the
to
door
kill the unborn because we don't want them, even if
can't-
they're healthy,
Yeah.
we now have laws in this country that are some of the most obscene and obnoxious laws and extreme laws in the world.
Yeah.
It's okay to kill an unborn baby, pretty much without regulation, despite what they say, for any or no reason to birth. And many of these babies that are later term are born alive and left to die.
Wow.
That's well documented.
Yeah. And it makes sense, euthanasia or assisted suicide for elderly, because if you're not born, I mean, you're not a liability yet, but here when you're old and there's too much liability around you, take up too much time, you're a burden on the healthcare system, it's only tempting, right?
Well, but people now
At the
only
end-
see them for their utility. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why we have euthanasia, because that's what the babies were seen as.
Yeah.
If you want them, they're only good if you want them,
Yeah.
not if you don't. The idea that every baby should be wanted is the cry of the pro-abortionists. That's not a Catholic or Christian cry. Our saying would be every child should be loved and welcomed.
It's amazing.
There's a big difference, right?
It's
Yeah.
just amazing. I mean, everything stands or falls with life.
It does. Yep.
Because if we don't value life, how do we get to that next stage where now we've got to save your soul? Body and soul, creation, redemption.
It's a good point you bring up. One of the things that one of my many brilliant mentors was Monsignor Philip Riley,
Okay.
great pro-life priest from New York, who established the Helpers of God's Precious Infants around the world. That the way of being what he called the modern day Calvary, where innocence is crucified,
Wow.
was that prayerful approach. And our primary reason for being there wasn't saving babies. It was saving souls. That is really what the Catholic mission's about. How do you save the soul of somebody about to have their baby killed and those about to do the killing, you see? And it's only through prayer. And it's only by appealing to mum, right? Your little baby needs you, loves you, and we will help you. When no one else, or they didn't think there was anyone else to help them, we would be saying, we'll help you. That's why they changed their mind.
Yeah.
During the debates around the legalisation of abortion in this state and the imposition of safe access zones, so-called bubble zones, around death clinics, a woman who'd been forced into an abortion by a well-known football player was in the media, especially at the time. She said to me, "Paul, I wish you were there when I came."
Okay.
And I spoke to plenty of women outside abortion mills, often going past, who told me about the multiple abortions they'd had. And they wish we were there to help them.
So,
It's actually about, you see, one way or another, those babies that die will be with God.
Yeah.
Mum and dad and the doctors and nurses, their souls are at grave risk of going to hell.
Yeah.
That's eternal death. So the battle for life is not just about this earth, this life. It's about eternal life.
Exactly. For the people receiving the child.
But if you don't respect life here and work to defend life, you won't have that life in the next life.
And another thing is receiving that life into the world is your path of salvation. Is there to sanctify you. Your children, your family are there to sanctify you, help you to grow closer with our Lord. And yeah, it really everything stands on life, because then what let's say we value life hypothetically. There are no murders. We're in a perfect world. Now we can focus on growing in our relationship with our Lord and saving our soul.
Yep.
As the next step.
Yeah, you learn not to be selfish.
Yeah, I mean, what I find in my observation is we're in a society today that, of course, devalues life itself and devalues spiritual life. Now, what's the greatest intimacy we have with God in the creative sense? It's the conjugal act and marriage. That's our
cooperation with Him in bringing new life into the world.
Okay,
That's
and
right.
what's our greatest cooperation with God in redemption? The holy sacrifice of the Mass.
Mm-hmm.
So the two acts are being desacralized in a parallel sense.
Yes.
That's the thought that often I reflect on. You always see sexuality or degradation of life at the conception stage, and you always see desacralization of the Mass in many contexts around the world. So I mean, there seems to be one falls with the other.
The paganization of our culture not only includes human sacrifice.
Yeah.
The abortion. By the way, the number of abortions in that last 50 years, I was going to tell you, is each year around 60 million on average.
Wow.
We're talking about 3 billion unborn human beings being killed. We wouldn't be in the mess we're in if we had them. Contrary to popular opinion, the world's not overpopulated, it's underpopulated, and the fertility problem's a huge issue.
Yeah.
We're fast coming to a demographic winter, in the Western world especially.
You look at places like China, especially.
They've got serious problems, and they
Japan.
know it. They've not only resolved from the one-child policy, they've now got a 3-child policy. But it's too late. If you condition people to have one and be selfish,
And be comfortable.
that's what they want, and they've got massive high-rise buildings that are empty that they've built, right?
And they're knocking them down. Yeah.
And they're knocking them down. It's insane what's going on.
I saw
in
the
China.
video actually online, of it just tumbling down.
And you got to remember, the Chinese Communist Party lie about everything.
Yeah.
So they lie about the real problems in China. They lie about their levels of population.
Yeah.
India is now the most populous country.
But it's also happening to Japan as well.
It happened in Japan. It's happening in Japan faster, and it's been happening for longer because
I was there earlier this year. It's interesting.
You know why?
Go to city churches.
Abortion in Japan was implemented post World War II.
Yeah.
As a contraceptive means, right? As a means of limiting family. And guess who imposed that on them? General MacArthur.
Wow. Okay.
Most people don't know it because he was the governor there, pretty much, a military governor. And that was introduced to Japan then.
I mean, we were there in January, and you don't see families.
Nope.
You don't see. It's only, especially parishes. It was rare to see children and families at masses.
You know where the Japanese go? You know where the elderly Japanese go when they need nursing homes and aged care homes?
No.
The Philippines. The place they tried to invade, or did invade, right? And tried to conquer.
I mean, it's funny. I went to a parish in Tokyo, and the parish priest was Filipino.
Yep.
So it's
they
bizarre.
either import the Filipinos there to run them in Japan.
Because there's more faith in the Philippines.
Well, not only that, they don't have the population in Japan to do all those sort of things. They're on the verge of collapse. A lot of Western world's in that.
It just goes to show.
Europe, most of Europe.
Except Hungary.
Hungary,
We'll
Poland,
talk
places
about
like that, right? Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, these Catholic countries, their fertility rates are like 1.1 to between 1.1 and 1.3.
Yeah.
Various of them. I think Spain's the worst, 1.1, right? Replacement level fertility is 2.1. That's huge.
Wow.
You build a wall around those places, in 100 years there'd be no one left. It's only immigration that's keeping them alive, but guess what? That immigration is coming from non-Christian places like the Middle East, North Africa.
Or even if it comes from Europe, they're declining as well.
Well, the immigration doesn't come from Europe. The immigration into Europe is coming from Africa.
Non-Christian countries,
And they've got serious problems there now.
So,
because here's the thing.
Yeah.
The idea that ethnicity and things like this have something to do with culture is wrong. Mm-hmm. Religion drives culture.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it is the prime. Hungary is doing a good job.
They are.
I mean, I loved Viktor Orban's, and we're not trying to promote any political party, but it was a good idea what he did, where if you had once you hit a fourth child, you're not subject to income tax anymore. That's fantastic. Money goes back in your pocket.
Yep.
Can you imagine doing that here, whatever your taxable income
There
is?
are many things they
No
can do
tax.
here to actually help families.
Yeah.
Right, but they won't do it. They don't allow it. Income splitting, for argument's sake, where there's a family with one income,
Yeah.
husband and wife should be able to split that income.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
they can't. You can't do those sort of things. That would radically reduce tax burden on some of those families.
Yeah.
So what they end up having is mum and dad both working and almost an inability to have more than one or two kids.
Yeah.
Because daycare is too expensive.
Yeah.
Then you depend on daycare. Kids should have a full-time parent. That's a really big thing.
I mean, it's absolutely crucial. There's so much to talk about, but let's get into Family Life International. So it was founded in which year?
1987.
87, yes.
A lady by the name of Gail Instance
Yeah.
and some others were members of the New South Wales Right to Life Association.
Yeah.
And they recognised the problem of contraception.
Yeah.
That will never end abortion whilst the prevalence of contraception is so high.
Yeah.
And the use of it, even amongst Catholics.
Yeah.
And even back then. And the Right to Life Association has considered that as a Catholic issue.
Yep.
Well, it's an issue for everybody. They were wrong about that. So now, because they refused to take a position on contraception, they started what they called then the Australian Catholic Pro-Life Association.
Okay.
ACPLA. Basically, she ran it from her dining room table
Wow.
and started this organisation, which in 1992 or 3, she met Father Paul Marks from Human Life International in America,
Yep.
a Benedictine monk who'd started Human Life International, a great man. And we became a branch of Human Life International in 1993.
Yeah.
So the Australian Catholic Pro-Life Association changed their name to Human Life International
Yep.
Australia.
Yeah. Wow.
That's when I got involved, early 94. And mainly running and helping with the pro-life vigils outside the abortion mills to start with. But I soon got interested in the pro-life. If you had told me a couple of years before that I'd be involved in pro-life, I wouldn't have believed you. I went to an apologetics talk. Jerry Matitix, a friend of Scott Hahn, was given at Riverwood. That was Gales Parish.
Oh, wow.
And they were recruiting people for a big vigil they were going to hold in May. This was, I think, December 93. It was going to be in May 94. It was a while away, right? And like everyone else, I put my name down. It was old clipboard days then,
Yeah,
not, you know.
yeah.
So I put my name down. About 3 months after this event, I get a letter in the mail reminding me about this. And I mean, I don't want to do that. But because I said...
Lucky you did.
Well, because I said I would.
Yeah.
I did. Anyway, that's the start. So it's been an amazing journey. So I was president then of Human Life International for 99 to 2001, for that 3-year period.
Yeah, 3 years. Wow.
But I had a full-time business. I was a financial planner.
Yes. It must be fun.
Yeah, well, and 5 kids and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
we were busy.
Yeah.
And we were homeschooling our kids.
Yeah.
All those things. So I'd been asked several times to take over running full-time the organisation. I couldn't at those times. But Gail ended up passing the leadership, the running of Family Life International. The name was changed to Family Life International 2004 for a whole lot of reasons, right? Principally, Father Marks believed that was a better name, and he wished he'd actually called the main organisation that in the first place. But he'd been forced into retirement and a whole lot of things had happened, and we distanced ourselves from that organisation, and we wanted to change the name, and we changed it to that. And our affiliation now internationally is with Steve Mosher and the Population Research Institute.
Ah, okay. Yep.
So Steve Mosher was famously the first Western sociologist into China.
Okay.
And because he spoke fluent Mandarin and Cantonese, and he had been invited in by the Chinese Communist Party, he actually saw the implementation in 1980 of the one-child policy. He was there to do his doctoral thesis on rural life in China. So he documented it all, and at the time that he went there was an atheist or agnostic at the best and pro-choice.
Yeah.
He came home not pro-choice. He recognised the evil of abortion because he saw them doing them
Yeah.
live at 9 months even.
Yeah, but even the population issue, just alone.
But Steve's his population, his specialty, if you like, is population demographics.
Wow.
So the Population Research Institute have got some fantastic information on population issues, right?
Yep.
You know, you could fit the whole world into New South Wales, the whole population of the world. And you could have families of four everyone would have 400 square metres each, right?
400 square metres?
A lot, right?
Wow. The whole population of the world?
The world's population.
Can fit in New South Wales?
Correct. Unbelievable, right?
40 square metres?
400.
400 square metres. Wow, that's an average
big block.
lot.
That's right.
Wow, save every single... Wow.
Yep, 20 by 20 metres. That's a fair bit. So how a family of four would have a lot more, right? They have a lot of space.
Yeah.
So it's nonsense is the first thing about that. And the other thing is that it's population growth that drives economic growth.
Yeah.
What we're finding now is Western governments lying about that growth and using total revenue generated or turnover as a means to measure what they call gross domestic product.
Okay,
but
GDP.
Gross domestic product is become the god in the sky. It should be real GDP that they measure, because nothing against hairdressers and nail artists and all sorts of service industries, they don't really add to GDP.
Okay.
It's the farmers and the manufacturers and the people like that. Now we've been in the West trashing those industries, passing it all off to give to China. So we're fast coming to some serious problems.
Yeah.
And those are important things to understand, because on many of the arguments of the pro-abortion lobby is that the world's got too many people.
Yeah.
And they've convinced a lot of people, especially through the school system, that's the case. But it's like the Seventh-day Adventists with or the Jehovah's Witnesses rather, with the end of the world's about to happen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They've had about 7 whacks at it in a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
And they got it wrong every time.
1918.
Well, Paul Ehrlich
Yeah.
and the population bomb, he's had about 4 or 5 attempts at predicting the global collapse, and he's been wrong every time.
Yeah. There's always those predictions that are coming up.
It's nonsense. But that's a big issue, the population issue,
Yeah.
for the defence of life, because people need to be educated. So we have a series of little pamphlets we call the Truth Pack, with information on various forms of contraception.
Yeah.
Whether it's be injectables or long-term contraceptives or the pill or the morning after pill.
Yep.
But we also have, as part of that series, a little pamphlet on population issues.
Yep.
To give people some basic answers. People can order those via our website or via our Facebook page.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, what we're doing now that we've stopped this praying outside abortion mills under pain of jail and severe fines. $11,000 fine and a year in jail.
Yeah.
Now, if I went and prayed outside or offered to start off, I'd be in jail, without a doubt. Someone that's not known and was quietly doing it, maybe they'd get run off the first time. But it's pretty serious what they've done as an imposition on freedom, right, of political communication.
Yeah.
Freedom to be able to approach people and talk to people and offer them help. And like I said, we didn't block the doorways. We, by the way, presented video interviews of people that we'd helped, including people that we'd helped after they'd had an abortion, right, to the Attorney General at the time. And they did nothing with it. They know what they were telling people about our activities there, that we're abusing people and doing all these things. If we were abusing people that had been in had an abortion wouldn't be coming out talking to us, but they were.
Yeah.
And we've helped them. Those are things that were just lies.
Yeah.
To cover it up. It's built on lies. That woman I told you about that said, I wish you were there when I was.
Yeah.
She actually had a great term. She said, this is not about medical privacy. This is about secrecy.
Yeah.
That's what it was. They're hiding what they do.
Yeah. Let's go into what do you provide at Family Life International?
So
what are your services?
So what we did is we moved, because
listening.
a lot of things we were doing revolved around those pro-life vigils.
Yeah.
And then the support we'd give those women that needed that help. Most of the women didn't need help. They needed to know someone was there if they did, but they were fine. Once they said, I'm having this baby, boyfriends, family, they got on board and they were okay. But some need a lot of help. And we spent a lot of money. We did put a lot of our resources into helping them.
Yep.
Some people kicked out of home and we'd actually help them get their own place and furnish it and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of those things then, as well as the education. But I told you about Gale and the foundation of it because education was the basis of it. Father Marx used to say education, education, education.
Yeah.
So what I've done now is refocus us as an organisation to provide education on those things.
Yeah.
So more recently we've published a great little booklet on contraception written by Father Pius Mary Noonan, who's the...
Yes, in Tasmania.
Correct. He's the Father Prior of the monastery down there.
I was just down there recently. Yeah.
Beautiful
place.
Well,
yeah.
I've been doing a lot with Father Pius, right?
Yeah.
So he's actually a PhD qualified moral theologian.
Yeah.
So I asked him to write this book on contraception because of some of the stuff that was coming out of the Vatican, supportive of contraception.
Yeah.
Vatican advisory panels, not the Vatican so much.
Yeah, not yeah.
The Pontifical Academy for Life especially.
Yeah.
Or people on it. So we published that little booklet. It's fantastic. He's done a great job. He's smashed any argument you can come up with on contraception. So,
Yeah.
and it's a great educational tool. And people that are Catholics say, but I'm not in favour of contraception. I don't need that.
Yeah.
So what you need it for is so you can help others who don't understand that. Because most Catholics can't answer all the objections in relation to the use of contraception. What people would say, why they need it, and why they should have it, and what's it about. What the problems
it's not
of it
just
are.
about the objection. I mean, there's the beauty of the Church's teaching on why we value life, why the beauty and order of sexuality. I mean, I know we can sit down and explain it like it's a no.
Yes, but these people,
the beauty of the truth,
the people
to
that
see in
don't
beauty.
understand the problems of contraception, right, also don't understand that.
Yeah.
So quite often you need to.
I mean, that's a whole topic for another time to
Absolutely.
really study. We can't cover that. The beauty of John Paul II's
Yep.
theology of the body, the beauty of sexuality, the order of sexuality, it just blows your mind. It makes the case for itself.
It does.
It's not about not...
But George, that's for people that are looking, right?
Yeah.
So what we need...
You're being practical just to get the
remember this,
information.
our
the first
organisation
contact point.
began on
Yeah.
that issue of contraception. So I went back to that.
Yeah.
Right? There's whole generations since then that need educating on this. It's a matter of course for kids in schools, Catholic schools included, to take up contraceptive use at a very early age. It's scary.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the next thing is
Well,
modesty. The next thing is modesty and chastity, right? Father Pius has written the booklet. We're close to publishing that. It's called Fig Leaves Are Not Enough. What a great title.
Wow.
You know why? Fig leaves are not enough.
I can't figure it out, no.
Adam and Eve, when they sinned, what did they do? They covered themselves with fig leaves.
Yes.
When God came and found them, what did he say? Besides, what have you done? And what followed, he gave them animal skins. Fig leaves were not enough. Fig leaves are akin to bikinis, right? Here, put this on.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a great title for a start. But he's covered everything from veils in church to bikinis and what the problems are and how to overcome it and a whole lot of things. It's a brilliantly written book.
Yeah.
It's challenging for the modern world. But here's the thing. If we won't end abortion, we can't end abortion if we don't end contraception.
Yeah.
We won't end contraceptive use if we don't change modesty in dress and behaviour.
Or we don't learn to love. You can just really...
But George, that's all part of the deal.
Yeah.
But it's modesty in dress and behaviour that feeds the contraceptive use.
Yeah.
And if people don't get that, they won't stop the contraceptive use.
It's chastity, essentially.
Absolutely.
Living chastity.
How do you provide the environment for people to live a chaste life? Now, if you see what women are walking around in, not just at the beach, which is bad enough.
I mean, it's completely turned, the tables have turned.
And here's the thing.
Today's world,
Everything holy is veiled.
Yeah.
Things that are holy are covered.
Yeah.
A priest robes himself for a start. The vestments, that covering. For the implements that he uses, there's coverings.
Yeah.
The tabernacle's veiled. That's all those sorts of things. He talks about all that. It's a brilliantly little book. In between those books, we had another booklet on the vaccine problem.
Yeah.
Because this is a big thing for me. It's Conscience and Vaccines. It's written under a pseudonym by a very well qualified priest with the help of several doctors, specialists, right?
Yeah.
Those vaccines, not only are there ethical problems in relation to their being untested, being new, many of the ingredients undisclosed, especially the amount of some ingredients, what's in them. their efficacy, a whole lot of stuff
Yeah.
was a problem. But the biggest problem was this. They depended on the abortion of an unborn child,
Yeah.
not just one, but many, to
Yeah.
get that vaccine cell line.
Yeah.
That's the aborted fetal cell line.
Yeah.
Aborted fetal cell lines feed so much research now, funded by the pharmaceutical industry or by university research houses, which are usually funded by that same industry. And that industry is $1 billion it's $1 trillion industry. They have more lobbyists in Washington, the pharmaceutical industry, than everything else put together. And imagine how big the oil lobby and the gun lobby and these things are. The pharmaceutical lobbyists surpass that. There are hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more, going from those research facilities to the abortion industry to provide those cell lines.
Yeah.
They're not organs from an abortion that are left over, that they've used because this baby's aborted. They're targeted assassinations because those babies that they take those organs from, their parents are genetically screened. They can't have had transplants or various illnesses and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
They want to know mum and dad are clean.
Now, many people would disagree with that.
Disagree with what?
They would say it goes back to the actual historical abortion that did take place. That's the information that you often get.
How did that historical abortion happen is what I'm telling you.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Okay. HEK 293 is the most well-known embryonic cell line.
Yeah.
HEK 293 human embryonic kidney is what it stands for. 293 is the number of experiments. There were 99 abortions to get that right one.
Okay, yeah.
All the parents in those cases were screened genetically.
Yeah.
The kid had to be a certain age, so the organs were the right size. There could be no anaesthetic for the baby because that would affect the organs.
Yeah.
The baby's got to be born alive and dissected alive. Right?
Well, that's going to have to be a topic for another time because we've got to get into...
Here's my thing.
Yes.
If we're pro-life,
yes,
these chains of evil
from
are
everything.
the chains of evil from the abortion industry, it's satanic, George.
Yeah.
It ensnares the whole world. Until we actually say enough of this stuff. And one of the conditions for the church imposed is for us to raise objections and demand ethically developed alternatives. Who's doing that? I can tell you this. There are two organisations, pro-life organisations in the world attending to it. Us and Children of God for Life in America. No one else.
Okay, Children of God for Life.
They were formed for this reason.
Okay. So just getting back to what kind of... I mean, you do so much. You do so many great things. And and you provide a lot of help to mothers and different people.
We were doing much of that when me and others associated with us were praying outside abortion clinics and finding people that need help seriously where there's no one else to help. I've had several times representatives from the Archdiocese of Sydney come to me and say, what do we need to do in Sydney in relation to this?
Yeah, okay.
And nothing happened.
Yep.
We've got a pregnancy support organisation now based in Parramatta and up in the Central Coast.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Diamond.
Pregnancy support, yeah.
But a pregnancy support place tends to be helping women that are determined to keep their baby.
Yes, okay.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
We were finding the people that had been forced to the abortion, they were at the abortion mill, at their door, and we were helping them. They didn't want to be there. They didn't know any other way.
Okay.
That's what's happening now.
So you come in there.
It's a different. It's a different subset. Right, of people. So that's the people we were helping then.
Yep.
Because family of one kind were forced. The number of girls I was told that if they didn't have the abortion, they were going to be out in the street.
Yep.
By boyfriends who would say, if you don't have the abortion, I'll rip it out myself.
And the key way that you've helped these people is creating centres.
No, we don't do that. Now other organisations have stepped up and there's some pregnancy support places, not enough of it.
Okay, yeah, the pregnancy
We
support,
don't necessarily need to do that. Plus, we don't meet those girls generally.
Yeah.
Some people call me and want me to speak to people or send them advice and send help and da-da-da, and we do.
Yeah.
But it's not as a major part of what we do now.
Okay.
What we want to do now is work to prevent that in the first place. But how do we do that?
Education. Yes, that's it.
Yep.
Okay, so what kind of work do you do now? So you send out leaflets, information packs. You send out your newsletter.
The newsletter.
Yeah,
That's a quarterly
which is very
thing.
important, a
We
quarterly
have
newsletter.
email news, which is more often.
Yeah.
Sometimes several times a week, sometimes every couple of weeks. Depends when we've got particularly something to do. And we attend to a lot of issues because where does life flourish and thrive? What sort of culture? A very Catholic culture.
Yes, yes.
And so we need to re-evangelise this world.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to talk about. But here's the thing. We don't have to do that. God will do that. Mm-hmm. What we have to do is play our part. What we have to do is all that we can do. What is all that we can do? I know you like this tool thing. We'll get to that, right? What is all that we can do?
We're waiting for the tools.
Yeah. Well, these are the tools. These booklets, this information.
Okay.
So how do you
think
bring
it's
other
time
people?
to go into the practical tools.
There you go.
I think it's time. So let's take the tools out of the toolbox. There's so much that you do there, and I'm sure, it will take hours to unpack all the great work that you've done all these years. But what can someone listening here today that has concern about the restoring the culture of life in Australia today, or anywhere where they are they're in the United States of America or the decline in Europe, what can they do to take action as an individual?
Yep.
Maybe not everybody's called to do what you're doing and the great work that you've done.
Oh, I get that.
What can people do now to take action? What are some 3 practical tools?
Here's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
The first thing is be all you can be, right?
Yeah.
Be the best Catholic you can be.
Yes.
What's that mean? Well, it means to live the gospel life, basically. And it's not that complicated. A young Protestant guy said to me once, I thought it was meant to be simple. I said, oh, it is simple.
Yeah.
It's humans that complicate it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the doctrine and teaching of the church is built around all the different things that people come up with and the situations they find themselves in, and they have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But it is simple, right? Firstly, go out to all the world and tell the good news is a instruction to everybody. Some people have a greater role in that than others.
Or how you're going to do that.
But people that have a family, here's the thing I always said. I've given a lot of talks on fatherhood.
Yeah.
A father's role is not just to provide for his family, financially, right? But also spiritually especially.
Yeah.
The father is the priest, prophet and king in the domestic church, right? It's also to do this, to make the world his kids grow up in a better place. The father's out in the world, generally speaking. The mother is at home with the children, right? The mother's the heart of the family. The father's the head of the family. They're inseparable things.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other one, right? The different dynamics and problems in families, we can talk about. That's another topic, as you say.
Yes, there's many topics.
Without going there, right, it's clear that there's this domestic church.
Yeah.
And ideally, we have a certain circumstance, right? And dad's got to be in the world and try to influence the world. And how do you do that? Well, he works and he engages with the world by who he works with, what he does for work. Whatever it is, there's someone he engages with, someone he works with. I heard a story once about a guy who had worked at a place for 35 years and he died.
Yeah.
And they were given, the people he worked with, his funeral details, and the common thing was, oh, we didn't know he was a Catholic. Well, that's a tragedy. They ought to know. You see?
Wow.
And you don't have to be ear-bashing people or belting them over the head with it all the time. But there's always parts of a conversation. There's always conversations in a day with the secular world where you need to defend your faith.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
When they are ogling a
have a
poorly dressed
conversation.
girl, or when they're talking about not having any more kids, or whatever it is, that's not the Catholic view.
Mm.
Children are a blessing. We welcome the children, right? They're from God. Those are things that you can evangelise people with.
Yeah.
The
in your own
tools that we
unique
have,
style, I guess.
Well,
yeah.
everyone's got
in
their...
conversation, it could be...
A lot of people say to me, right, especially if it comes to abortion, many people have said to me, oh, so-and-so, someone at work, da-da-da.
Yeah.
I get it a lot. But I didn't know what to say. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
Of course it is.
In work.
Educate yourself about how to respond to these circumstances.
Mm.
We've got the tools. We have literally got thousands of articles on our website.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of
So what is your
hard copy
website
tools.
for those listening here today?
FLI, that's for Family Life International.
So FLI, pretty simple. .org.
.au.
.au.
Doesn't get more simple.
FLI.org.au. and people can reach you, and they can reach you directly if they need any help.
If people want
or
to
they have any initiatives, or they want to donate or support.
Yes, and with our website's comprehensive.
Yeah,
Put it that way. It's
so
a
you
lot
have
of stuff.
comprehensive information and everything
It's huge.
else.
And getting bigger all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, and all those things that we've briefly covered
Yeah.
have much more detail on our website.
Yep.
And here's the thing, if people want to contact me directly to ask questions or I'm happy to hear from them. My email is paul@fli.org.au. That's an easy one.
Paul at FLI.
.org.au.
So paul@fli.org.au. If you have any questions, email Paul directly.
Yep.
And you'll get in touch and you'll assist them. So
Absolutely.
you're the main point of contact.
I am.
Yeah.
Put your phone if you want me to call you in the email, obviously, and if you just want to correspond by email, I'm more than happy with that. So
Yeah.
happy to correspond and point them in the right direction for the tools that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are many of those.
Yeah,
Like I
to
said,
actually
those booklets
educate
and-
themselves.
Yep. Yes.
To study the beauty of the church's teaching.
Correct.
It's not about no's and no, we don't do this, but it's what is the church's teaching. But as you said, sometimes on a practical level, it's hard to just throw all that beauty of information over their head. They need something simple, just a quick access point that they can read about, maybe spark that journey
Here's something else
for
they can
them
do.
to study.
They can read the church's documents.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a fantastic website. It's
Yeah.
called Papal Encyclicals Online.
Yeah.
Do you know about it? It's got every encyclical for the last 800 years, right? Not
We're in
just
a
encyclical.
TikTok generation.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think anyone's going to read
No,
through it.
but you know what? Up until more recent popes, papal documents weren't that long. They're much easier to read, right?
Yeah, they actually were. They were much easier to read. I
Absolutely.
really enjoy,
were
Pius the
concise,
Ninth,
yes.
Pius it
Pius
gets to
XI,
point.
what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people know about Humane Vitae.
Yeah, exactly.
In like 1968 with
Yeah.
Pope Paul VI. But 38 years before that was a great encyclical called Casti Connubii.
Yeah,
Pius XI.
Pius Connubii, yeah.
I think more concise, more precise,
Yeah.
in some ways better. And that was a response to the Anglicans giving in on contraception.
Yeah.
Those are things that people can read, and it's not difficult. They don't write it in obscure theological language.
Yeah.
It's written, a papal encyclical is generally written for the clergy, but it's easily accessible for the lay people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So there's also good tools, many good tools. So we're happy to put you in touch with some of those things. So
Yeah, to actually educate people or give you resources or
resources.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Excellent. So you provide that education for people. So they're not just jumping in, or they don't know what it's about, or they don't have the background knowledge. You're meeting that need. So I think first practical tool, go to fli.org.au and you can put them in touch with other
And that's
initiatives.
that's in relation to abortion, contraception, euthanasia,
Assisted
same-sex
suicide,
marriage,
everything
any
to
of those
do
things.
with
Life, faith, family.
Exactly. And let's go into practical tool. A second practical tool. What can people do to take action to push pro-life agendas? In their space, in their workplace.
There's
What are
plenty
two others that people can do?
Yeah, well, look, I've done a lot of things. I guess God had me prepared for this role. I spent 15 years seriously involved in politics, right?
Yeah.
That's another show.
Yeah.
At least one. A lot of people wanted me to actually run.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to run you for Parliament, Paul. You'll be good at this.
Yeah.
I'd say, I know. So that's why I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sell my soul. So I did a lot of more background things. My wife and I were pre-selectors when Scott Morrison stole the seat he got.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
That's another story. There are a lot of people wanting to they think that lobbying politicians will get somewhere, and you're wasting your time. Okay? I spent 15 years
I like
doing
to
it
think so myself. Lobbying politicians.
because their politics is downstream from culture.
Yeah.
Culture is downstream from religion.
Yeah.
We need to re-educate.
So you think lobbying
Re-evangelise.
politicians
Waste
is
your
not
time.
a good use of your time?
Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, they'll do what keeps them in power.
Yeah.
And we don't have nearly enough people with our views.
That's true. That is true.
I can tell you a lot of people that were good people that got involved, spent a lot of time, and they get chopped. Good example, more commonly, that a lot of people might know is Moira Redeeming in Victoria.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard of Moira Redeeming, Google her maiden speech in the Victorian Parliament.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
She's out now.
Yeah.
They got rid of her.
Yeah.
That's politics. And that's not the worst part.
Yeah, I mean, it's the art of the possible, essentially.
Well, you got to remember this.
You don't have full control sometimes to push your own.
They're captured by the that are our enemies.
Yeah.
Pretty much the mainstream
So there's
media
only so much you're saying we can do to lobby politicians.
You're wasting
as
time.
much as we can, as much as we...
I've written submissions, I've appeared in parliamentary committees, I've done all that stuff. And I know that submissions to parliamentary inquiries and committees, 90% of them come from our side.
Okay.
And they always say the same thing.
Yeah.
They'll say, on the balance of the things, after weighing up all the submissions, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
In other words, they've ignored everything we've said.
I mean, it doesn't discourage people from lobbying. Continue lobbying. It's but your argument would be invest your energies elsewhere, possibly.
Correct.
Okay. So what could people do to take action?
What people can do is what we went to the first thing, that education thing, right?
Yeah.
And then learn how to get involved in parish groups.
Yeah.
Right?
Parish groups. Yes.
And get together with people and undertake some little assignments, right?
Yeah.
Get involved in existing groups like St. Vincent de Paul if you want to.
Yeah.
Get involved and start a new group. Do door knocking. I don't know if you've ever done door knocking for a parish event.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun.
Politically, I have. That's a lot more fun.
Well, so if it's when you knock on someone's door and say, "I'm from the Catholic Church," they go, "What?"
We really should. See, I have a great idea for parishes to resurrect, mass attendance.
Stuff they used to
We
do.
have a register of all the baptisms, everybody, where they live.
Yep.
Why can't we go and follow people up like business development managers and say, you haven't been to church for a while, can I come and see you, give you some information? Could you imagine that? Or door knocking?
So a lot of people go, "Oh, I couldn't do that." Yes, you could, but you might need some training.
Yeah, okay.
You can almost guarantee in every parish there's someone that can do that.
Yeah.
And you can work on it, right?
Yeah.
Develop a program with the parish priest.
Yeah.
It's not as if the parish priests are going to be upset to see more people come to church.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's a very good idea. Door knocking or even distributing pamphlets or any other material.
There's another way you can do it. If you don't think you can actually speak face to face to people,
what can people
develop a little pamphlet?
Yeah.
And put that in a letterbox.
Yeah.
Again, if they get something from the Catholic Church,
yeah,
not the Seventh-day Adventists, not the Jehovah's Witnesses, not
something
the Mormons,
from the Church.
Someone from the Catholic Church.
That's fantastic. And what's a third practical tool? What can we do? What else can we do to increase awareness
I think the third thing
help
is this,
other people?
what I said in the beginning, right, as well. It's about your own personal holiness. We need to grow spiritually. So spiritual reading, and there's some fantastic resources. I don't know if you've heard of a book called Divine Intimacy.
Yes, yeah.
Brilliant. It's got a daily meditation. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to read. Depends how fast you read, right? And how much you absorb.
Yeah.
And it's got quotes from Teresa of Avila, Teresa of Lisieux, John of the Cross, people like this, right? Augustine.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And it's, if you like, a meditation in a nutshell for every day.
Yeah.
Without you have to go and find it and do the right one. It just follows the traditional Mass liturgy, but it doesn't matter. And it covers so much of the spiritual life. Mm-hmm. Learn to develop your spiritual life, because then you'll be better if you want to engage in Catholic apologetics or door knocking or evangelising in your parish, or pro-life work, or evangelising people that you work with, or other places.
1 Peter 3:15, sanctify the Lord Jesus Christ in your hearts and always be ready to give a defence or an apologia or an explanation.
Exactly right.
And the means we can use is door knocking, some pamphlets, or get involved in any pro-life marches. Let's give them
Day of the Unborn Child.
Yeah. Day of the Unborn Child, that's a big one.
It is.
In the city. Sydney.
4,000 people. We need to get it to like 20,000 people plus.
Yeah,
right?
we need to achieve what America's achieved.
Well, we've got
got
a lot of support from the Archdiocese of Sydney.
Yeah.
And other bishops around the Sydney greater metropolitan area. The Maronite bishops led those events, right? Bishop Tarabay is very supportive of it.
Yeah.
So
providing some numbers as well.
Well, numbers matter.
Yeah.
Because people go, wow.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a big thing.
It's absolutely amazing. So those are some key events.
Yes.
That you can possibly meet different families, different people. People can meet with yourself. You're there.
Get your parish to get everyone along. Bring a parish banner. Promote your parish. Promote your apostolates that you're involved with.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy for all that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
So I think we're equipped to now take action, whatever way possible. Whoever's listening, everyone matters. All our initiative matters.
Yes.
And I thank you so much for being on the show with me today, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
A complicated, complex field
Yeah.
to try and reduce to an hour, but you did a good job.
Thank you so much. So thank you for tuning into the Catholic Toolbox. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and go to thecatholictoolboxshow.com. That is thecatholictoolboxshow.com. So I'm your host and founder, George Manassa. Thank you for tuning in. Till next week, God bless, take care, and take action.
In this era of grave spiritual crisis, it is not enough to simply know about your Catholic faith. That is why we need a Catholic toolbox to equip us with the practical skills necessary to live our Catholic faith to reach our ultimate goal, which is heaven for all eternity. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. for the Catholic Toolbox as we hand you the tools to go forth, live the faith, and change our modern world today. Live on the Voice of Charity.